All right, welcome into Humbabe. This is going to be episode 8, where we go over the NL Central. And so we have a special guest. Last time I said a special guest was going to be a former teammate of mine, so we changed up the guest. We have a different guest waiting. But I'm excited. It's March. We have NCAA basketball. Exciting.
Yep.
We got conference tournaments. Almost at the bracket time. Gonna
Yep.
get the bracket coming out next week. So Alex, what's going on?
First of all, I would like to thank all of our fans for pulling up to Stony Brook this weekend. It was really fun. I had a great time. It was fun signing autographs, taking pictures, just like letting our fans letting our fans know how much we appreciate them. So, thank you for everyone for coming.
For sure, I totally agree with you. We love our fans, and it's tough because the way we do it through the podcast, our fans are only seeing us through the screen. So great to meet our fans in person and have them kind of know who we are. Well, I mean, we're basically the same as we are on the screen, but having them see us and know who we are. So
it was definitely good meeting you guys in person. You guys, a bunch of fun personalities that we got to meet over the weekend.
Okay, so we're going to get right into the news of the week, and then we'll get started. So Alex, what we got for news of the week?
News of the week is just all injuries from spring training, basically. It's kind of big names, actually. Big names. First, we can start off with Joe Musgrove. Fractured his toe weightlifting. Sam, you can attest to weightlifting injuries.
Yeah, so Joe Musgrove hurt his toe weightlifting, and so I think he'll be fine. I think he fractured his toe, and I think it's going to be better before the season even starts. Is that right?
He'll miss a start at most. It's on his left toe, so it's not his it's not that significant.
Yeah, but so obviously weightlifting injuries suck. Mine, I'm still recovering from it. It's like 2 years after it even happened. And it's not even a laughing matter at all. This is really had a back injury, weightlifting, herniated 2 discs in my back, had surgery on it, still recovering, but toe injury, definitely not fun, but at least he's not suffering from some herniated disc in his back. But so yeah, who else we got?
James Paxton, injury prone pitcher. He hurt his hamstring and he's gonna miss opening day. He's gonna be on the IL to start the year. So another setback for him. It's just unfortunate because he's a really good pitcher when healthy.
Definitely, it is unfortunate. It's a hamstring injury, so it'll just take time. You can't push it, but it'll get better for sure. It's better than an arm injury in my eyes. So he should be back sometime relatively soonish. Misses some opening beginning of the season, but he'll be there for the Red Sox throughout the year. And then we got Vlad Guerrero with a little knee injury, taking him out of the WBC.
Yeah, he'll be fine for regular season, but it's a big blow for the DR who hope to, take the title from the US. WBC actually started today. Ohtani hit 2 home runs. One of them, which it was on his knees. It's kind of impressive. But he'll be fine opening day, so not too much of a concern there. Next we got my dark horse, NL not Cy Young, NL Rookie of the Year winner Andrew Painter. He has some dealing with some elbow stuff at the moment. He probably won't be ready for opening day, so Bailey Falter is going to be number 5 at the moment.
Yeah, so Painter elbow injury. You never want to see that. Looked really sharp in his spring training debut. Just easy 9900. Just looked like what we expected him to be, and what the Phillies kind of need from him throughout the year. Right now they don't seem too concerned about it, but definitely something to monitor. You never want that from a guy that's going to be holding down your rotation for like the next 5+ years. So definitely something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I love Painter personally, so I hope he's healthy rather than later. Last pitcher we got for Mets, Jose Quintana, rib injury. I don't know how you get a rib injury pitching, but he's gonna miss opening day and the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, we just talked about this last week on NL East, and we talked about how the concern, at least my concern for the Mets, was that back end of the starting rotation, that 4-5,
Yeah.
which includes Quintana. I wasn't sure if he was able to repeat his success from last year, but if he's taken out, that 4-5 becomes even weaker. Um, so the Mets are going to need starting pitching, that depth to play huge for them if they want any chance of beating out the Braves in the East. So
Yeah, I
is that it
agree.
for? Yeah, my bad.
That is it.
Okay, so let's get right into the NL Central. We're going to start off with the Brewers, and we're going to bring in our guest, Jackson Godfrey. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. That was correct.
All right, thank goodness. So we're going. He's a DePaul University student, and he's a Brewers fan, and he's going to start off talking about the Brewers.
Yeah, so I want to begin with thank you guys for having me on. I'm very excited to do this. Yeah, so I'm from Milwaukee. I've been a big Brewers fan my entire life. And this 2023 season is very exciting for me because we have newcomers to the team. Like Sal Frelick has a chance of getting called up, Bryce Terang, Joey Weimer, and then we got Jesse Winker in the trade with the Mariners and Abraham Toro as well. So I'm very excited to see what this team can do throughout the season.
And we like to go.
What was
Actually,
that?
You want me to go, Sam?
yeah, you go.
All right. Brewers. I mean, they traded away Renfro this past offseason, who was very key for their lineup last year, but they replaced him with Winker, who had a down year, who I think will bounce back. Like overall, the Brewers, they're gonna be a good team in my opinion. Like I know their owner's cheap and stuff, but this is still a very good team. They got Burns heading the rotation, top 3 pitcher in my opinion. Woodruff, an ace in my opinion as well. Eric Lauer, underrated. Freddie Peralta had an amazing 2021 season. Didn't really do as well 2022, but like he has the stuff. He has insane strikeout stuff. And Wade Miley, he's just consistent. He's been consistent ever since he started throwing his cutter. And you can't forget about Aaron Ashby, who I think should get a shot at the rotation. If not, he'll be a relief ace. The offense is going to be good. They traded for William Contreras, all-star for the Braves last season. Really good offensively. I don't know about defensively. That's a question mark. But like center field, Lorenzo Cain out as the Brewers center fielder. In comes Garrett Mitchell, who had a really good cameo in 2022. I like him personally. Turang, like you said, top prospect, gonna get a shot. But like other players, they're all good players. Adames, elite shortstop. I would say top 10 shortstop. Urias, solid player. Tellez, solid player. Yelich, I mean, it still remains to be seen if he can return to his MVP form. I personally think he's kind of washed, but he's Christian Yelich. I wouldn't bet against him. So that's my Brewers take.
All right, so this team is definitely a real 3 true outcome team, which is walk, strikeout, home run. 3rd in home runs, 4th highest walk rate, and then 7th highest strikeout rate. So if we look through this lineup, obviously Yelich and Alex are saying, is he going to get back to his MVP form? It's hard for me to see it. Again, I mean, I liked him to be because we saw how good he is when he's at his MVP form, but only 383 slug last year, only 14 home runs. That's not really the same Yelich as we've seen. I mean, it is the same Yelich we've seen the past like 2-3 seasons, but not MVP Yelich. And then you're talking about Adames. He really overperformed last year. I don't think he's hitting 31 home runs again. He's not that type of player to me.
Mm-hmm.
Rowdy Tellez, 35 home runs last year. So I don't think he's repeating that. 219 batting average, And then I like the pickup with William Contreras. Crushes the baseball, 506 slug, 20 home runs. I think he'll be able to do that. So there you go in the middle of the lineup. Production from a catcher, that's good. And then the bottom of this lineup, I don't love. And then aside, we're looking at Winker. You mentioned traded for Winker. It fits in with this team well. 15% walk rate, so like getting on base a ton. But the power was down last year, definitely a down year. Not a poor defender, and I don't know if he's going to return to where we saw him in 2021 with the power that he had. Luis Urias, 16 home runs, 110 OPS plus. Maybe you get the same, and then you're looking, Garrett Mitchell, great production in a small sample size last year. So you have to look at him and Sal Frelick and then Terang to take huge steps in terms of the production for this team for them to do well. And that's kind of just too big of a question mark for me. And then pitching wise, you said Burns obviously ace, top 3 pitcher, elite. And then we're looking Woodruff, very solid. Between the two of them, yeah, that's a strong top 2, 3.05 ERA for Woodruff. But there's questions in that back side of the rotation. Peralta is terrific stuff, like you said. But injury concerns for me, I actually do think Peralta is going to have a good season this year because he's extension. He's 95th percentile on extension, 97th percentile on barrel rate, so he's not giving up hard contact. So if he stays healthy, I think he'll pitch well. And then Lauer, he had a huge step last year, but I don't know if he's going to be able to repeat that. And then Ashby, he's hurt right now. Is he going to be able to have a healthy season? He's got a bit of a walk problem. And then the 5th guy is kind of Adrian Hauser, who's terrible because he's first percentile in whiff, can't generate swing and miss. He still has a walk problem, 20th percentile in hard hit rate. So after Burns and Woodruff, you have a bit of a problem, and Peralta. Peralta's good, and then you have a bit of a problem there. So, and overall, you look at that, you're still fine. It's a good team. But my biggest concern for the Brewers is Burns arbitration. Burns going to get traded, and then if you take Burns away from this team, what are you left with starting pitching wise? Woodruff, and then the rest of them. I don't like that very much. So that's my concern with the Brewers.
Yeah, I like those points, especially with the Burns arbitration thing. As a Brewers fan, that kind of irritated me with them having to go to arbitration over $700,000. I didn't think that was really necessary to do when you pay one of the top pitchers in baseball. Just give him the money. But I'm intrigued with his bullpen as well. I mean, you got Devin Williams as a closer. He's like certified big league star. But like you got aging Matt Bush that throws hard, but like his walks are a little bit of a problem. He pitched well with the Brewers in the couple games that he pitched after the trade deadline. I think his walks per 9 was around 3, so that wasn't horrible. And then Peter Strzelecki, he was surprising last year with a 2.83 ERA. And then we have Javi Guerra, Bryce Wilson, and Joel Payampas, who are newcomers to the bullpen as well. It'll be intriguing to see how they played. But Guerra's getting old. He hasn't had a good season since 2019 with the Nationals. Wilson had an ERA over 5.5 with the Pirates last year. And then Payampas played okay between the Royals, and then he got traded to Oakland and stuff like that at the back end of the last year. But his FIP, his fielding independent pitching, was 4.25, and then his ERA was 3.25. So he was getting pretty lucky last year. Hopefully that luck continues for him this year as well. But we'll see how that goes. In terms of talking about Adrian Hauser, I do agree with he needs to take a big step up this year because his walks per 9 is close to 5. And I think Peralta, with only 78 innings pitched last year, I think he'll be taking more responsibility with that rotation as well if he stays healthy. And Eric Lauer was really nice for us to have last year with that 158 and 2/3 innings pitched because I don't think many people expected that out of him. He didn't pitch very well when he just got traded to the Brewers after that Trent Grisham trade a couple seasons ago. But that was really nice to see out of him. So I'm not sure if Burns is really like in the mood to pitch for the Brewers, but for the time being, he is. We'll see how we're doing at the trade deadline and see if he gets shipped there. But yeah, right now it's an interesting bunch. I'm intrigued to see how they play the rest of the season. But I'm certainly excited for it.
For sure. I just gotta mention something about Joel Payamps, and it's funny because whenever I see his name, I always think about this. At the beginning of last season, when he's on the Royals, I had a correct score. It was Yankees Royals. I had correct score 8-2 Yankees, and it was currently 7-2. And he was pitching the final 8th and 9th inning. I had to get just one more run for the Yankees and then a clean inning from Joel Payamps. And he gave up a solo home run to Matt Carpenter to make it 8-2, and then pitched a clean 9th inning despite walking the bases loaded, and then now our run. So Joel Payamps got me like $200 on correct score. So one of my favorite pitchers.
So I forgot to talk about the bullpen before, and when you look at this bullpen, besides Devin Williams, there's a bunch of nobody. But I think it's very intriguing, like you said. The Brewers, like over the past couple of years, they've been really good with player development, especially in the bullpen, especially with pitchers as well. And like you see names like Matt Bush, elite stuff in my opinion. He throws hard slider. And then you got Strzelecki. He was really good in the big leagues last year. 2.83 ERA, like you said, but also struck out a ton of batters. And then you got Hobie Milner, who was like solid throughout the entire year. But you also have intriguing arms like Ashby. If he doesn't get a rotation spot, Aaron Ashby is one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. He has some of the nastiest stuff like in the game, especially his slider. Like I know Sam, you watches. He's always on Pitching Ninja, Aaron Ashby. And you also for Ethan Small, your top pitching prospect. I think he deserves a chance to start the year in the bullpen. So you have a lot of intriguing pieces in this bullpen, and I think Craig Counsell and the pitching development of the Brewers are going to figure out a way to maximize everyone to their full capabilities.
Yeah, just something on the bullpen. So they had the 11th worst FIP last year, which that's not great. But they did have the 5th best expected FIP. So if you're looking at that, they got to expect them to pitch better numbers wise this year, better results this year. Maybe they were a bit unlucky. So definitely, like you said, Devin Williams, changeup is just such an outlier pitch. It's just filthy.
Airbender, I think that's what they call it.
Yeah. And so it's definitely. I really don't know what to expect out of this team. The bullpen could pitch really well. If they pitch to their expected stats, it could be a really elite bullpen. But the guys, you're not looking aside from Devin Williams. You're not looking at these guys, and you're like, and maybe Aaron Ashby if he's in that bullpen. You're like, oh, these guys are so filthy. They're gonna get they're not like that aside from Devin Williams and maybe Ashby, which is kind of like why you're kind of hesitate to be like, oh, this is an elite bullpen. But they could pitch like that if they pitch the way they did last year and get lucky. But yeah, we'll see. This team is just such a mystery to me. I really don't know what to think of this team.
I think it's a great way to describe this team, a mystery. That's how I feel about this team. But I mean, I like this team overall. Like, it's a solid team, despite the moves they made this offseason.
Yeah, one interesting thing to note is Craig Counsell still has not signed a new contract for next season. He's the longest tenured manager in the National League, and he's undecided about what he wants to do. He has 2 kids that play collegiate baseball, so he might end up going that route and just being a dad and watching his sons play. But I would love to have him back because he's been very, very good for our ball club. 2018, he managed the bullpen insanely well, and we got to the NLCS Game 7, so 1-1 away from the World Series. I would like to go back to that spot. Do I think this team is going to get there? Unfortunately, I don't, but I think we have a shot to make a wild card and hopefully win a division because I feel like this division's up for grabs overall. And going back to the William Contreras acquisition, that was a complete steal in the Sean Murphy trade. We pretty much just traded Ruiz, our 7th best prospect, and essentially got him. So it was a fleece job for the Brewers. But in terms of like really not signing any big name free agents, I mean Milwaukee's really not in the market for it. But Mark Ananasio, our owners, also he doesn't like to spend money as well. So I'm very excited and I'm intrigued just as you guys are. But we'll see how things shake out. I'm very excited for sure.
All right, Alex, you have any other thoughts?
No, I think we should move on to our next team.
Before we move on, though, should we get? You want to just say some quick thoughts on all the other teams and give a standings prediction?
Yeah, I do. That would be great. So I think the Cardinals are going to end up winning the division. They'll have around like 92 wins or so. I like their lineup for sure with the addition of Wilson Contreras. I mean, how can you not? Their bullpen outside of Ryan Hazley, like it could be better, but they're all right. I think they'll end up winning the division. I think the Brewers will be second in the division because the Cubs moves. I mean, they got Swanson, but I feel like they definitely overpaid for him because the other shortstops on the market were better. But he was going to get that shortstop type of money, and then Cody Bellinger. I mean, he hasn't been good since 2019. Same thing, kind of with Christian Yelich. We'll see how they do there, but like Hosmer's kind of washed, and Trey Mancini was good with the Orioles the last couple of seasons, but he had a tough time in Houston. after the trade deadline. So I think the Cubs will be 3, and then I like the Pirates to be 4. Actually, I like the bullpen. I think O'Neal Cruz will be interesting throughout the lineup, having a full season with the big league club and everything like that. So I like them at 4, and then the Reds at 5. Joey Votto's aging. Jonathan India needs to step up. Will Myers is currently their best hitter, so I don't really like that team, and their bullpen's kind of weak. So that's my NL Central Division predictions.
Sick. I like the predictions. All right, so should we move on?
Okay, yeah. Do you want to go first about the Cardinals, Sam?
Is that it for Jackson?
Oh, all right.
I mean, you could.
It's up to you, Jackson.
I really appreciate you coming on. I like all the very knowledgeable. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night, man. Cardinals are always a team that's good, but they're never elite and they're never bad. You know what I mean, Sam? Like they're always like a 90-win team.
I completely agree.
Okay, and I think this year will be the same. This offense is why am I echoing? All right, anyways, this offense, in my opinion, is one of the best in baseball, especially after adding Contreras. Like 1 through 9 is pretty stacked. Like I think Jordan Walker, he's having a monster spring training so far. He should be a starting right fielder at the moment. And this lineup, like 1 to 9, like I said, it's stacked. First, we got the best duo, first baseman and third baseman in the game, Arenado and Goldschmidt, both top 3 MVP candidates in 2022. Both of them put up F4s over 7 last year. You got Tommy Edman, underrated, 5.6 F4 last year. Elite defender at short, average hitter at short. Brendan Donovan, rookie of the year candidate last year. Really good plate discipline, doesn't strike out much. He's hitting a bunch of home runs this year in spring. And he's not a home run hitter, which is interesting. And you got Contreras, one of the best hitters at the catching position. Defense is questionable. It's definitely going to be a transition, managing the pitching staff from Yachty. But you also got an outfielder in the outfield. Center field projected to be either Dylan Carlson or your dark horse MVP Tyler O'Neill. And at left field, you got a breakout from last year, Lars Nootbaar, one of my favorite players in baseball. I think he's going to have a really good year, Nootbaar. And Yepez at DH or Contreras or Walker. And you can't forget about Nolan Gorman. They're one of the top prospects. He's not even projected to be in a starting lineup. Like this offense has names everywhere. It has great depth, great bats. It's going to be a top offense, in my opinion. But I'll let you go first before I talk about the pitching.
Well, yeah, you nailed it. That like you said, the Cardinals are always kind of good and never elite in recent years. And this is a team that I think fits that mold with encompassing the whole team. And I'll get to the pitching eventually, but offensively, this could be an elite team. Offensively. And the reason for that
100%.
is you went through the offense. There's not a single below average player in this lineup offensively. Every single person had an above 100 OPS plus. And then you look the strength of the bench. I'll go through the lineup kind of like you did. Edman, you said, Tyler O'Neill, 101 OPS plus in a really down year last year. And that's the worst in this lineup. I said I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to be a breakout candidate, dark horse MVP. I really like Tyler O'Neill that much. And then you're looking 3-4, Goldschmidt and Arenado. I don't even talk about them. They're just that good. Goldschmidt, 180 OPS plus last year, 578 slug. Arenado, 154 OPS plus. And then you go get Wilson Contreras, 466 slug. You're getting more offensive production from the catching position because Yadier Molina, elite defensive catcher, but he wasn't contributing much offensively recently. And then he's going to strike out, but it's fine. Dylan Carlson, still only 23 years old. I like him. Like you said, Lars Nootbaar. I was going to say Lars Nootbaar is breaking out. That he's cool. He's fun to watch. Lars Nootbaar, 128 OPS plus. It goes up and down the lineup, and then you still have Yepez, Donovan, and then you have Nolan Gorman on the bench, like you said. Nolan Gorman, second-year player. He was the prospect last year. He was supposed to break out, and then someone that kind of gets hated on in Cardinals like media Cardinals like fans is Paul DeYoung, and I still think Paul DeYoung's fine. Like he had a terrible season last year, but Paul DeYoung still gives you some power from the bench. Like this lineup is incredible, and they don't strike out either. They have the 4th lowest K rate, and they have the 4th highest on base, 7th highest team slug, 9th in home runs. All around terrific offense, and I expect them to improve. That was their numbers last year. I expect them to improve. And then I'll start with the pitching. And here's where you kind of wonder if this Cardinals team can be an elite team, because starting pitching, the 5 is going to be Wainwright, Monty. I love Monty, Jordan Montgomery, Michaelis, Flaherty, and Steven Matz. So we'll go through each of them. Adam Wainwright, he's still going. 3.71 ERA last year, but 4.5 xERA. I have no worries about him. 191 innings last year. He's going to get innings, but he's not really an ace anymore. You know, he's not really an ace anymore. He was 1st percentile in whiff, so he's not getting any swing and miss. He only throws 88 now, and it's a credit to him that he's still being a competitive, good pitcher. Still doing that, keeping guys off the barrel. But you know, you can't really be the ace anymore. And then you're looking at Monty. I'm a big Monty fan. 3.48 ERA, command wizard. Can he be as good as he was last year? Last year was kind of his best year, and he was at 3.48 ERA. And then Miles Michaelis, 3.29 ERA, but 3.8 xERA. He doesn't really get swing and miss either, so there's no real like stuff guy in this rotation. You like having a guy that really is good stuff. 5th percentile in whiff for Michaelis, but he did eat over 200 innings, which is good. And then you're looking, the 4-5 is as much of a concern as that top 3 is in terms of ability from a top 3. The 4-5 is even maybe more concerning because of the inability for them to have innings because of the injuries, which is Jack Flaherty and Steven Matz. Matz only threw 48 innings last year, and he had a 5.25 ERA. The sinker was just hit so hard. And then Flaherty, 4.25 ERA, 4.9 xERA, and he's just not the same as he once was when he was a really good pitcher. And then the bullpen had the 14th worst FIP, and yet they were still the best bullpen in terms of FIP of every NL Central team, which just shows how bad this NL Central is. And Helsley, really 103 easy. Just he's a fun pitcher to watch. Jordan Hicks, you know, they got some hard throwers in that bullpen. Genesis Cabrera, Andre Palante, but Giovanni Gallegos. But can they, even though they throw hard, can they really be good? Can they be good pitchers and get guys out late in games? And that's to see. But it's really the starting pitching that is my concern with this team.
Yeah, before I talk about the starting pitching, like even though it wasn't my official pick for Rookie of the Year, Jordan Walker is definitely my number 3 choice for NL Rookie of the Year. He's a top 10 prospect, elite power, elite contact abilities too. Defense is a question mark, but he's like tearing up this spring, and I won't be surprised if he's starting opening day for Cardinals. But all right, so as for the pitching, I'm gonna say right now for the rotation, there's not one above average starter in this rotation. Like Montgomery and Michaelis are not. They're average pitchers. They pitch to contact. Their stuff isn't that great. But the Cardinals, they have a really good defense. So I mean, their pitching styles should work with this team. Wainwright, he's throwing like 85-mile-an-hour fastballs in the spring. He might be washed. Who knows? And then Flaherty and Matz, both major injury concerns. I know people think of Flaherty as still like an ace when healthy. He's not an ace anymore. Like we've moved past that phase already. Like Flaherty, he's a good pitcher like when healthy, but he's never been healthy since 2019. And Matz is Steven Matz. Like you said, ERA over 5 last year. Can't really get too excited about that. And if one these two pitchers or any pitcher goes down, you have your 6 starters, your top pitching prospect, Liberator, who, I mean, me personally, he doesn't excite me. He doesn't throw hard. He has a big curveball, but like I just question if he can get out consistently at the big league. What were you gonna say something?
He doesn't even.
Liberator?
We saw him last year. He didn't pitch well enough to stay in the major leagues. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't excite me either. So I was going to say, like, can Liberator even contribute to this team? And I don't really know. And the thing is, that's your top pitching prospect, and he can't even crack the starting 5, which we just said was that starting 5 wasn't even a good starting 5 rotation. So, you know, yeah, definitely concerning.
Yeah, and then your 7 stars, Dakota Hudson, who, I mean, he's one of the most overrated pitchers. He's not really overrated because he's really a nobody, but I remember he had like good seasons, number wise, ERA wise, in the past, but like he walks so many people and strikes out no one. So I definitely do not like Dakota Hudson as a pitcher. And as for the bullpen, like besides Helsley and Gallegos, they're two elite relievers in my opinion. They're both elite. There's really no one. Like Jordan Hicks throws 105, cool. He can't even throw a strike. Palante, he was solid rookie year. I still need to see more to be sold. But like Genesis Cabrera, Verhagen, Chris Stratton, Packy Naughton. Have you ever seen Packy Naughton pitch?
Yeah.
You just want to like it's so boring. Like these guys aren't that good besides Helsley and Gallegos. So overall, this pitching, it's average. It's an average pitching staff. It's very old school in a way. Like they pitch to contact most of these guys, but this offense it's elite. Like this offense is too elite. Which is why I think the Cardinals are still gonna be a good team this year.
I could definitely agree. All right. Where are we going now?
The Cubbies. Let's go with the Cubbies. I know you like the Cubbies, Sam, so let's start with you.
Yeah, I like the Cubs. Hey, I don't love the Cubs. I like the Cubs. And I think they're going to be better than a lot of people think, which is why I like them. And I like the additions. I thought they had a really underrated offseason. Maybe one, not the best, but definitely a top 5 offseason. Adding Dansby Swanson, Cody Bellinger, Jameson Tyone, Mancini, Hosmer, Merriweather, Rios, Fulmer, Boxberger. Definitely some quality additions. They lost pieces for sure, but I thought they did a good job. So let's look at this lineup. Nico Horner, solid player leading off, and then here's where the team is getting their essence, which is going to be Dansby Swanson. If Dansby Swanson has a bad year or doesn't, you're laughing at Dansby Swanson. If Dansby Swanson doesn't have a good year, this team will be so bad. This team is so reliant on Dansby Swanson being the player he was last year or better. And I think that will happen. He strikes out a lot, but he hit 25 home runs. He's a high on base, 447 slug, and he's an elite defender. So I'm a big Dansby Swanson fan. And then you're looking at the 3 guys going to be Ian Happ, 17 home runs, 119 OPS plus. Fine. Obviously, you're not looking at it's not the Cardinals lineup. We're talking about the Cubs lineup. And it's fine. And then Mancini, 18 home runs, but the numbers were really hurt by Baltimore's wall, and then he didn't play well in Houston. But I'm still a believer in Trey Mancini. I think he can really produce. He was an above-average player while he was in Baltimore before the wall. Still, numbers-wise, was fine with the wall, just obviously hurt by it. And then Cody Bellinger, can he regain his form? Similar to Yelich, like we said, but new scenery, I don't know. But he still hit 19 home runs. Obviously, he's a strikeout machine, and he had 6th percentile in batting average. He's just terrible. But, if he can raise that up a little bit, he can be a quality player for sure. And has the potential to be an MVP-type player, but definitely not going to be. And then Hosmer, is there anything left in the tank? He wasn't terrible last season. Doesn't have power anymore. It's a strong veteran presence on this team. A lot of veteran players on this team. Patrick Wisdom's a player I like, 25 home runs. And then you're looking Barnhart. Christopher Morel played decently well in his rookie year. And then Seiya Suzuki's going to start on the injured list, but he could break out. 14 home runs, 116 OPS plus last year. So overall, this lineup is average. Maybe there's kind of some hope for this lineup. It could be a solid lineup. There's top to bottom. It's all right. It's fine. Pitching wise, 3rd highest team FIP, 8th most walks per 9. So not good. The difference is I think this pitching staff is really going to improve this year. So we're starting with Stroman, 3.5 ERA, 3.9 xERA. But he's just a guy that gets outs. He's always small guy. He's never going to blow you by with a fastball. But he runs that 2-seamer. He's going to find ways to get you out. He doesn't have great stuff, 26% on a hard hit. But that doesn't really concern me for Marcus Stroman because I know what he's been able to do. And then we're looking at Tyone. Tyone was the big pitching acquisition. 3.9 ERA. He's a command wizard, high spin rate. And if you look, the Yankees broadcast was talking about this all last season. The difference in Tyone, when he throws that 4-seamer up in the zone, compared to when he throws that cutter, kind of gets cute with the cutter 2-seam, down inside middle of the zone. So the cutter hitters hit 519. They slugged 519 off the cutter. You eliminate that pitch. Look at all the numbers you eliminate from Tyone. riding that 4-seamer up. And terrific year. Probably under a 3.2 ERA. That's just a guess. I don't know. But Jameson Taillon still has a lot left to give. And then here's my guy this is my favorite Cubs pitcher, Justin Steele. I've already talked about him. There's a reason that his 91 is Bayou. It's Bayou at 91, and it's because he's the 90. His spin rate is ridiculous. Justin Steele's spin rate is insane. 3.18 ERA. He just gets strikeouts with 91. Curve. Didn't give up a hit on his curveball all season long. This guy's filthy, and I love to see it. He's my breakout guy in the Cubs. And then you're looking at Drew Smyly, and then hopefully Wesnecky is the fifth guy. 2.18 ERA for Wesnecky. The slider is insanely filthy. I don't understand how the Yankees could give him up. So if we're looking aside, Drew Smyly, 3.47 ERA, stuff isn't great. But if we look at the four guys between Stroman, Taillon, Steele, and Wesnecky, in my opinion, that's a very quality four. And then obviously it's not as quality if Wesnecky doesn't get the start, and you're looking at Hendricks, who is really bad in my opinion. Why is he still pitching? Fastball tops 87. Guys slug 656 off his fastball. And then the other part, before I let you go, is the bullpen, which had the third worst FIP. And can they be better than last year, please? Can they do something so that they're not hurting the team in an insane amount? Yeah, if the bullpen is decent, this team will be decent. If it's as bad as it was last year, this team will be terrible.
So you like the Cubs lineup? I really don't. There's only two above average bats in this lineup, which is Suzuki and Happ. Everyone else, they're not. They're either average or below average. Like Bellinger, come on. Are we still expecting Bellinger to be his MVP self again, or even a good player? He's done. Mancini, obviously he got held back by the wall a little bit, but if you look at the past couple of years, his OPS plus was closer to like 100. Dansby Swanson, I know you love him. He's an average shortstop. He's average. He's an average player who had one good year and got a big contract. He's an average player, and he'll prove it this year. He's an average bat. He'll strike out too much. He'll play good defense, but a league average bat and good defense is not worth whatever you're paying him, $175 million. Nico Herner is actually really underrated. He's better than Dansby Swanson, in my opinion. Like Nico Herner.
Nico Herner is a good player. Dansby Swanson is an elite player.
Dansby Swanson is not elite.
He's not a league average player. We already discussed this. Dansby Swanson is not a league average player. That's just insane.
Dansby Swanson is league average, but let me continue. Patrick Wisdom, strikeout machine. It's actually a miracle that he's able to be a league average bat. So props to him. Herner, elite defender. League average bat. Like these are all league average bats besides Suzuki and Happ. Hosmer. I don't know why Hosmer is still playing. Mancini should be the first baseman, not Hosmer. And then you look at catching, Barnhart and Yan Gomes. All right, I don't need to talk about that. But overall, this lineup is just not good. It's not good. Honestly, I don't know why Christopher Morel isn't in the starting lineup. I think Christopher Morel is better than Cody Bellinger at this point in time. Like he should be starting. Hosmer, I don't know what he's doing in there. He's kind of washed, but his lineup is just not exciting compared to what you think. As for the starting pitching, I'm in agreement here. I really do like the starting rotation. Taillon, I think he still has another level to his game that the Yankees did not unlock. Stroman, he's gonna eat innings. He's a solid pitcher. Justin Steele, I really like him as a pitcher too. I think he has command issues that he should fix, but his stuff is really good for someone that tops out like 92, 93. Drew Smyly, I think, is really underrated as well. 3.47 ERA last year. He's also a high spin rate guy, I'm pretty sure, Drew Smyly. And Kyle Hendricks, I don't know why he's projected in the starting rotation over Wesnecky right now. Kyle Hendricks is washed. He's like the definition of the meme. It's time to learn Chinese, buddy. Like he should go to China. In China, he's done. Like he was good in the past.
You should go to the Oryx Buffaloes.
Oryx Buffaloes. But Wesnecky, pitching ninja wizard. He's always on there. His slider is Harry Potter like. It's insane. I still like Efros as a pitcher. I would have done the trade still. Like you can't expect Efros to get Tommy John, but I mean Wesneski was so good in the major leagues last year that you kind of regret it now. And then the bullpen's terrible. You got Hughes, Brad Boxberger, Adbert Alzaway, Michael Fulmer, Rowan Wick, Julian Merriweather. I actually really like. I remember he has elite stuff. Julian Merriweather. He throws 100 hard slider. He was really good on the Blue Jays like the beginning of 2021 before like he got hurt. But like bullpen's not good. Sorry, lineup isn't that good. But the rotation, they definitely improved on it a lot this offseason. I like it.
Yeah, the bullpen, it's not good. I just think if the bullpen is even slightly below league average, but not bottom five, if it's not a bottom five bullpen, even if it's not a bottom 10 bullpen, this team will be okay. I'm not saying this team is a division winner. I'm just saying this team is okay. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I'll save that for later. But I mean, yeah, I actually like Wick as a reliever. Merriweather, you said, filthy stuff. Fulmer, I think, has a good year in him. So it won't be good. But I just think they have enough where it's not a bottom five bullpen anymore. Hopefully, if it is, then this team will be terrible. But
I mean, a lot of these pieces in the bullpen, in my opinion, they're like trade deadline. They're like gone at the trade deadline. Like Michael Fulmer, 1-year contract. Brad Boxberger, I'm pretty sure 1-year contract. Like these are all guys that you hope can have a good half season, and then you ship them off to a contender, come July, August. All right. Should we move on to the Pirates?
Yeah, you want to start on the Pirates?
Okay. Pirates. This offseason, I kind of like what they did. Like, obviously, they're not going to be contenders or anything, but they added major league players. And they added their former homegrown superstar, Andrew McCutchen, back, so it's always good to see. He actually got hurt, I'm pretty sure, which is unfortunate. But, like, they added major league players this offseason. Carlos Santana projected to be their DH. Like, he's still a solid hitter at this stage of his career. G-Man Choi, they traded for him. He's a really good pickup, underrated pickup at first base. I really like G-Man Choi as a hitter. But you also got like Austin Hedges, like he's a terrible hitter, but elite defender, and he's someone that pitchers love throwing to. He's a great guy. And you got like your superstar, Brian Reynolds, and potential superstar, Oneil Cruz, who has the most ridiculous tools in MLB like right now. He has like last year he recorded the hardest recorded hit like in Statcast history. It went like 123 miles an hour. It was ridiculous. And he has like elite sprint speed. Or you gonna want to say something?
I was going to also say hardest throwing across the diamond.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And you got Key Brian Hayes, who I think is a really good third baseman. Elite. He's league average bat, but he's, in my opinion, the best defender at third base at the moment. Actually, he's behind Arenado, but he's second. But yeah, this lineup, I mean, it's not great, but it has major league hitters now, which is something that you couldn't say last year, besides like Hayes and Reynolds. And who knows, Oneil Cruz can be a superstar, and I think if he is, then this team can take another step. And before I start talking about the pitching, would you like to talk about the offense?
Yeah, so I totally agree with you on the offense. Last year they had the second highest K rate, third lowest team on base, fourth worst slug. So in terms of the moves that they did this offseason, I think there was a clear goal of getting guys that get on base, which is kind of what they did. So if you look at this lineup, it's really not a terrible lineup. I don't mind this lineup. You look at Santana, he's 36 years old, but there's still production there. And he's a 14% walk rate, and he doesn't strike out. So clearly there's a goal there in what they're doing. Then you look at G-Man Choi. I mean, G-Man Choi, maybe it's a joke, but it's really not in terms of the Pirates because they might need him. He strikes out a lot, but I never realized how hard he hits the ball. He's the 88th percentile hard hit. but he walks 14% of the time. So the Pirates have a clear goal. They want to get on base more. And then you look at other play. You look at Jack Sawinski, who I like, a breakout guy, low average guy, but another high walk rate guy, and a guy that has power. 19 home runs. He showed some pop. I think he could get over 20 this year. And then you look back, they still have Brian Reynolds. He wants to be traded, but he's still going to be here, and he's going to produce. 461 slug, 126 OPS plus. He's your guy. And then O'Neal Cruz, you said, I think he'll be a superstar, like you said. 450 slug, and we all know the potential there. Smokes the ball, arm strength, speed, power, exit velo, 17 home runs. I think he could go for 30-plus home runs if he really breaks out. And then Andrew McCutchen's back. I think he'll produce back where it started. He'll have incentive there. And then Ke'Bryan Hayes is a solid. He's not the best offensively, but he's a solid player. And then, you're not going to get much offensive production out of the catching position, but most teams don't, except for the teams that have good offensive catchers. That's a really benefit, but most teams don't. So, you're fine there. So overall, it's really not a terrible lineup. And then you want to start on the pitching?
Yeah, so the rotation, I don't think it's that bad either. Like Mitch Keller, surprisingly, like I was surprised when I saw this. He has a really good season last year, 3.91 ERA, 2.1 F4. JT Brubaker, he's a solid pitcher in my opinion. I think he has his ERA wasn't that good. It was 4.69, but his peripherals were better. 3.87 xFIP, 3.92 FIP. And then you got a top pitching prospect. The Yankees traded him for Tyone, Roansy Contreras, who I think he's going to be an elite pitcher. His stuff is so good. I kind of regret the Yankees traded him away, but I never thought he'd be this good, so I can't really blame Cashman for doing that. And then Rich Hill, he's old. He should be retired. I don't know what he's doing, but he's still a solid pitcher. Like last year, the year before that, he's still posting up solid numbers. He's not going to make 30 starts, but whenever he does start, you're going to get 4 or 5 solid innings out of him before he turns to the bullpen. And then you got Vince Velasquez, who's just not much to talk about. I feel like Vince Velasquez is someone that could always do more with this stuff, but never seems to do it. And at this point, it's time to just accept that he's just not a good pitcher. And as for the bullpen, David Bednar is one of the most underrated relievers in baseball. He has been an elite reliever these past 2 years. Last year, 2.61 ERA, 1.5 F4. He strikes out a ton of batters, doesn't walk many guys. But other than that, it's not really that good. Like Will Crowe, DeYoung, Robert Stevenson, Dwayne Underwood Jr. Actually, a guy I like is Colin Holderman. They got him from the Mets for Vogelbach last year. I think he's really good. He can be a solid reliever. I like his stuff. He actually had a solid year last year too. So, but other than that, the bullpen isn't that good. Rotation is better than what one would think when you see these names. So,
I agree. So we're looking at the pitching, starting pitching. Actually, overall, we'll go overall pitching first. 5th worst team ERA, 3rd most walks per 9. So last year the pitching wasn't good. However, this year I really expect a big step from the Pirates pitching. Starting pitching, let's start with the ace, which is Mitch Keller. And I don't think he'll be the ace for long. But Mitch Keller, I always get my hopes up every year with Mitch Keller. If you look at his stuff is filthy. Every year you're like, oh, he's working with Driveline. He's working with so-and-so. He's going to figure it out this year. He didn't have a terrible year last year, 3.91 ERA. He's a high spin rate guy. But can he finally cut down the walk rate? And can he finally just figure it out throughout the entirety of the season and not go up and down with not be so inconsistent? So that's what I'm hoping for from Mitch Keller. He always has the potential to be a really good pitcher. And then you mentioned this Pirates pitching staff could be so good. And my question is, why is Oviedo and Luis Ortiz not going to be in the starting rotation at the beginning of the year? Well, they're not projected to be. I guess they could, but they're not projected to be. I'll start with Roansy Contreras, who will be in the rotation. And he showed some real stuff last year, like you said, Alex. 3.79 ERA. The velo is 96 plus. That's always exciting. But he was the 4th percentile in hard hit and barrel rate. But he's only 23. I expect him to figure it out. Be more of a pitcher. Work the corners. He'll be fine. His stuff is really good. I'll go to JT Brubaker. 4.69 ERA. Numbers were not great, though. 22nd percentile in hard hit. I just don't think he's very good. I think he'll eat innings. He'll be fine, but The Pirates pitching is going to really improve through Contreras, and then through the two guys I really like who I think we're going to throw big innings is Oviedo, who had a 3.21 ERA, 97th percentile on extension, which means he's right on top of you, and he's on top of you with not low velo, he's on top of you with 96 plus, and he pitched well, he kept guys off the barrel. Still has a bit of a walk problem, but we're talking about a rookie pitcher. We talk about rookie walk problem. It's pretty normal for rookie pitchers. I think he'll figure it out. And then we're talking about Luis Ortiz. Same with him, 98 plus velo. He looked really sharp, 4.5 ERA, but 2.9 xERA. So between Keller, Contreras, Brubaker, Oviedo, and Luis Ortiz, this is fine. And then you have Rich Hill, who's going to be a veteran presence for these young guys, 42 years old, but he still gets the job done, I guess. 4.27 ERA, he'll eat innings. Obviously, the stuff is down, harder to get swing and miss, but he'll be a vet and he'll eat innings. And this overall, we look at these starters, this Pirate staff has me excited. And then the bullpen, it's bad. It had the fifth worst FIP last year. So I don't expect much out of them, but definitely this Pirates team could take a huge step. The Pirates team excites me if I'm a Pirates fan. I don't have much expectations, but I have a lot to look forward to. I like Will Crow maybe a little more than you. Bednar, you said it. He's really underrated, terrific reliever. And then nothing much else other than that. But this Pirates pitching staff is a little underrated. I think they could surprise some people for sure.
Last thoughts before we move on to the Reds. I totally forgot about Luis Ortiz. I think his potential is through the roof. He has amazing stuff. I'm not as high on Oviedo as you are. Like, he throws hard, has good extension, but despite his stuff, he's like throughout the minor leagues, he's never he's never striking out that many people, and he's always had a walk issue that I don't think can be fixed. But other than that, like, this rotation has a bunch of potential, and the Pirates overall just have a bunch of potential with Contreras, Ortiz, Cruz, like even Hayes. Hayes can still be considered. Hayes is still considered a young player. Like, they're gonna be there for a while. And Brian Reynolds, if he stays, he's a really good player. All right, let's move on to our last team, and we could just say this now. We both agree that this will be the worst team in the Central.
For sure, yes.
All right, Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, it's a bad team. Sam, would you like to start?
So, there's no hopes for this team. I'm looking at the offense.
The state of the Reds is
hopeless. Is hopeless. This is a hopeless team. There's some quality pieces that I would like, some players that are exciting on this team, but you can't get anything done if you can't do anything offensively. This team is nothing offensively. It's terrible. They have the 8th highest K rate, 7th lowest on base, 5th worst slugging, second worst exit velo. Let's look at this lineup. There's no power here. There's nothing here. Jake Fraley. It's Jake Fraley. Jonathan India is a good player. He got hot, I guess, towards the second half of the year, but really didn't have a very good year at all. Joey Votto, 205 batting average, but he's basically done at this point. Tyler Stevenson I actually like. He had a 482 slug, 130 OPS plus. But, Will Myers, he's basically done. And then Spencer Steers, young player, but really didn't play very well last year. Kevin Newman. It's from the Pirates. It's a lineup filler. Kind of a joke. Nick Senzel, he had an OPS plus of 64. He slugged 306. Like, what are we doing with this lineup? Like, it's just, there's nothing here. And I'll get to the pitching, but I'll let you go. What do you have on this lineup?
Garbage. This line's garbage. You have maybe, I would say, 2 above average bats. I know Stevenson's definitely an above average bat to catching position. He's personally one of my favorite players in baseball. Like, I think he's so underrated at the catching position, considering his hitting ability, and he's also like a solid defender. He's no slouch behind the plate. Joey Votto, I love him as a guy, love him as a player. He's washed. I'm sorry. He can't, he's coming off rotator cuff surgery. He's 39. Like, you can't expect much from him at this point. Jonathan India, I would still consider a good player. Rookie of the year, 2021. Really took a step back in all facets of the game last season. So it remains to be seen what kind of player is Jonathan India. Is he the one from 2021 or 2022 or somewhere in between? Kevin Newman, the one good trait about him is that he doesn't strike out. But the bad news is he sucks at everything else. So, and so at third base, same with Michael Massey from the Royals. I was looking at the Reds. I'm like, who the fuck is Steer? Who is Steer? And I searched him up. Like, he had a terrible year last year.
We saw him
I don't know.
play. He hit a home run when we went to
No,
the
that
game.
was
Yankee
that was
Stadium.
Stuart. That was Stuart Fairchild.
Oh, you're right. That was Stuart. That
Yeah.
was Stuart.
Like, who is Steer? I mean, I've nothing much to say about him, but I saw his numbers from last year. It wasn't that good. And Will Myers, he's just collecting his checks at this point. Not that good anymore. Nick Senzel, oh my god, I'm so disappointed in Nick Senzel. He was the second best prospect in baseball 4 or 5 years ago, and just to see the player he is now, it makes me sad. It makes me sad. I thought he was gonna be a really good player for the Reds. But he's not even a league average bat at this point, and he's not a good defender center field. And the only thing that's keeping him in this league is his prospect status from a couple of seasons back. And then you got, was it TJ Friedel? What are we doing here? TJ Friedel, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with TJ Friedel? And then DH, your DH is Jake Fraley? Nah, this offense is putrid. But I'll start the pitching. The starting pitching, ooh, is brimming with upside here. There's a lot of upside in this rotation. Nick Lodolo, really, he was awesome last year. 3.66 ERA, good peripherals, 3.49 xFIP. He strikes out a lot of guys. He has really good stuff. He throws kind of weird. It creates a deception for hitters. It makes it harder for them to like pick up the ball. He also has trouble hitting people. He led the league in hit by pitches last year. But Nick Lodolo is going to be a good pitcher. Honestly, I can see him breaking out into becoming like an ace of this staff. More so than Hunter Green. Hunter Green, obviously, number 2 overall pick in 2017. Big fastball, big slider, but I still question his ability to develop a solid third pitch. His fastball gets tattooed so much that he becomes too predictable. It's hard to become a successful 2-pitch pitcher in this league if you're a starter. Graham Ashcraft, also another guy that throws 100, but this time he throws 100-mile-an-hour cutters, which is ridiculous. His numbers were okay last year. Actually, his peripherals were better than his numbers last year. 4.89 ERA, 4.09 xFIP though. So a lot of upside for more. And then you have Luke Weaver, former top pitching prospect for the Cardinals. He was good at one point for Arizona, but injuries really slowed him down. So it remains to be seen if he can still tap into his potential as a pitcher. And it remains to be seen. And same with Justin Dunn. Traded former top Mets prospect, former top Mariners prospect, traded to the Reds for Winker and Eugenio Suarez last year. I mean, he walks a lot of people, injury concerns, like he's kind of just like see what you got kind of guy. And then the relievers, I really like the bullpen is actually not too bad in my opinion. Like Alexis Diaz, brother of Edwin Diaz, really good season last year. He had a 1.84 ERA. He struck out a ton of batters. Kind of had a walk issue, but that's to be expected with someone his stuff. And only and him being a rookie. Lucas Sims, I really like as a reliever. Like San Martin, Jabal, like I've seen them pitch in person before, like you said, at Yankee Stadium. They all had hard fastballs, good breaking balls. So this bullpen isn't great, but it has some upside that I like here. And the rotation, Lodolo, Green, Ashcraft, like that's the top 3 that I would be excited to watch as a Reds fan.
100%. So, yeah, pitching wise, the Reds had the 3rd highest team ERA, 2nd highest team FIP, and they had the most walks per 9. You're never going to have a good pitching staff if that's the case. And they could struggle again this year, but in terms of individual pitchers, I love this Reds pitching staff. If I'm a Reds fan, you maybe fall asleep during the offensive innings, and then you wake back up during the pitching innings. That's what you want to see. It's exciting. But with the pitch clock, you might fall asleep for the first 6 innings and then wake up by the 7th. So, that might be a problem. But we'll start with Lodolo. You mentioned it. He's a stud. This guy's going to be so filthy. He's a K machine. Hitters hit 136 off the curveball. It's filthy. And then that fastball is just by you. Like, it rides so well up in the zone. It has good movement on it. It's just, we already mentioned him. He's really good. And then Hunter Green, I picked him as my dark horse Cy Young winner. He's untouchable at times with that fastball. It's just easy, 100 plus, 102. But you said it, and we already mentioned this before when we talked about Hunter Green. He needs a third pitch like that. He's only throwing the changeup to lefties, and it gets crushed. And then he's not throwing a third pitch to righties. He's just fastball slider, and that's too predictable, like you said. You're not Spencer Strider. You need a third pitch, and until he really develops one, he kind of has a limit on his potential, even though ability-wise he's extremely good. And then someone who doesn't get enough credit, who I'm glad you mentioned. Wow, I'm a big fan of this guy. We saw him pitch in person. I never hear anyone talk about him. Graham Ashcraft is really solid. He's only 25 years old. He's a breakout candidate for me. 97 plus velo with you said 100 mile per hour cutters out of him. That's crazy. He had a 4.9 ERA, but the xERA was only 4. And the issue with him, he'd be so much better if he got more swing and miss. He's the 6th percentile in strikeout and whiff rate. And the issue with that, if he gets that up, he's going to be so filthy. If he can really start to get guys out, strike out guys, get swing and miss, he'll be so filthy. And the reason he can't is because he's a lack of a put-away pitch. He's 11% put-away on the cutter. That's really low. Most guys, it's 20% plus. So he needs a put-away pitch, whether that's a different off-speed that really gets guys, whether his fastball, he changes it slightly in terms of its movement, or its ride, so it's really getting guys out. It's getting guys to swing and miss, getting them to put away instead of fouling it off, not getting them out. If he figures that part out of his game, he could become so ridiculous. He could totally break out and be an elite pitcher. So I'm a huge fan of Ashcraft. I'm going to be looking at him this season to figure it out in terms of that respect. I am a little concerned about Weaver and whether it's Justin Dunn or Luis Sessa in terms of that 4-5, whoever it is. They're not great. I mean, I guess Weaver, he could put it together, have a solid season. But if you're a Reds fan, the team's going to suck anyway. So the potential of that top 3 just to be exciting, watch them win series through pitching. They're shutting guys down with elite pitching. So the Reds have a lot of ability to do that. Obviously, I don't know if they'll be winning many games with that offense, but that pitching is super exciting to see. And then bullpen-wise, they had the worst bullpen FIP last year, so you never want to see that. Way too many walks out of these guys. That's a main issue. But in terms of the ability, Alexis Diaz looked really good last year. He closer of the future for sure. Lucas Sims, you said, glad you mentioned him because he was really good. And then we saw the other guys. Buck Farmer was fine. San Martin was all right, I guess. So overall, I mean, even though the bullpen did not put up good numbers at all, it was the worst pen FIP. There's a lot of potential for improvement here. I'm not saying they're going to be a top 10 bullpen, but if they're league average, it could be a big improvement from the Reds. But the main issue with this team is offense. It's just there's going to be nothing there, and that's going to be the problem. Once they figure that part out, this Reds team could be really good in a few years.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I'm looking forward to as a Reds fan, I'm not a Reds fan, but if I were a Reds fan, I would look forward to the top 3 in the rotation, and I just want to watch Joey Votto until he retires because he's a Reds legend, and he's someone I've never seen someone. It's very rare for a player like him to stay loyal to a franchise for that long. And I just respect Joey Votto for going through all the ups and downs, mostly downs with the Reds. And he's a Hall of Famer, and he's going to go into Cooperstown wearing one jersey, which I think is very rare nowadays. So
very respectable. Joey Votto's a Hall of Famer, like you said, for sure, and so he'll get Reds fans are gonna have a treat to watch him say goodbye. So
okay.
were you good?
Yeah, let's move on to standings.
our NL Central standings. So how
All
are we
right.
doing this? Are we going back and forth? Or are we going all at once?
What did we do last week again?
Last week we went all at once.
All right. Okay. Let's do all at once.
Okay. You
Um.
can
All right. I'll go first. I know we'll have some disagreements. But starting off 5th place, we won't have any disagreements here. It's the Cincinnati Reds. Like, this offense is brutal. The bullpen is and the rotation has a lot of upside, but it still does not overcome lackluster offense, which really only has 1 or 2 good hitters in the lineup. Number 4, I have the Pirates. I think they added major leaguers this offseason, which was good, but I don't think this team is as good as other top 3 teams in this division. The offense can be solid, especially with Oneil Cruz and Hayes take a step. And the rotation, I think, is brimming with upside with Contreras, Ortiz, and maybe Oviedo. And the bullpen, but isn't that great as well. Like, this team is still rebuilding. It's still trying to figure out who's going to be a part of the future plans. But I mean, the Pirates are going to be way better than last year, which I think is a good step. 3rd place, I have the Cubs. The rotation I do really like. I do like them a lot, just as much as you do. But man, the bullpen and offense just isn't good enough for me to justify putting them in the top 2. In my opinion, the offense has 2 above average hitters, like I said before, Happ and Suzuki. Dansby Swanson, your big free agent signing, he's an average shortstop. I'm gonna keep saying it. I can't wait to see him prove me right this season. But yeah, the starting rotation, like, it's brimming with upside. Steele, Wesneski, Tyone, and backed by solid pitchers like Sherman and Smiley. But the bullpen just isn't good enough at all. 2nd place, I have the Brewers. The Brewers, they're a mystery team. That's a perfect way to describe them. But I still think they're a very good team. They have a really solid offense, in my opinion. Like, I think they're gonna get power from Adames, Tellez, William Contreras, and Winker, and maybe Yelich again. But Gary Mitchell, like, he had a really good cameo last year. I think he's gonna regress a little bit, but I think he can be a solid player. And the rotation is so good. Burns, Woodruff, top 5 duo, top 5 starting pitching duo in the league, backed by Lauer, who had a really good 2022 season, backed by Peralta, who has elite strikeout stuff and has put it together before in 2021. And then you have Wade Miley and Aaron Ashby for the 5th rotation spot, who are also very good pitchers, in my opinion. In the bullpen, there might not be many good names, but they're going to get the job done. The Brewers organization always figures out a way to maximize pitchers, and they've always been elite in terms of development over the past couple seasons. But my 2023 NL Central winner is going to be the Cardinals again. This offense is going to be one of the best in baseball. From 1 to 9, there is no easy out in this lineup. And I think adding Jordan Walker either opening day or towards the middle of the season is going to be a trade deadline acquisition. This guy's a top prospect. This guy is going to be a future superstar, in my opinion. He's going to be one of the best hitters in baseball when we talk about him in 3 or 4 years. The rotation and bullpen is the only thing holding me back from calling them an elite team. But the offense is just too good for them to be an average team. They're a good team, but the rotation and bullpen, it's average. They're mid. There's not one above average starter in the rotation, and besides Helsley and Gallegos, I'm not really excited about any relievers in the Cardinals bullpen. So those are my NL Central predictions. I talked a little bit too much, but it's your turn.
In terms of the points you made for each team, I mean, I kind of agree, except obviously Dansby Swanson because he's an elite shortstop. But I'll start with my NL Central, and we totally agree. In 5th, it's the Cincinnati Reds, and this team, while could be exciting in the future, is just so bad offensively that there's no other spot that they could be other than fifth. I'm between Lodelo and Green and Ashcraft. I'd be excited. I'm definitely going to be watching them this season. But they're not there yet. They're not ready. It's another rebuilding year for the Reds. Until they really figure out that offense, this team's going to be really bad. So they're fifth. Fourth, this is going to surprise people. I'm going Milwaukee Brewers at fourth. This team it's not good enough for me. It's a mystery team, and for me, the mystery is that they're not good enough. And so they're fourth. The part of the reason is you said how they always figure out a way to get production out of the pitchers and the bullpen, stuff like that. The way you described them reminds me of the Rays. The Rays always figure out a way to get stuff done. Low payroll team. But the issue is the Brewers are not the Rays. The Rays are the Rays. The Brewers are the failing Rays of the NL. They're not the Rays. They suck at being the Rays. And this year they're going to figure out that they can't be the Rays. They're going to trade everyone at the trade deadline halfway through the year. That's my prediction for the Brewers. I think Burns is gone. I think maybe Woodruff is gone. I think Yelich is gone. And probably some more pieces too. And for that reason, I have the Brewers at fourth because I think they might start off to a rough start. There's a lot of drama around this team with that ownership. It just is kind of creating a mess of sorts. I don't like mess. Mess is not good. However, you did say if everyone stays there, if everyone produces to their ability, to their peak ability, this team could be a good team. Between Burns and Woodruff, Peralta, Lauer, Ashby, those five are solid. And then if Yelich can return to form, there's a lot of ifs with this team. I don't like ifs when you're predicting a team. If Yelich returns to form, if Adames can repeat, if Tellez can repeat, stuff like that. There's the question marks with the Brewers, but I don't see it for me this season. I think it's going to go full yard sale, full rebuild halfway through the year. But for me, they're fourth. Third, I'm going Pirates. Pirates team I really like, and it's an exciting team. I'm really encouraged by the offense that they've built together. A lot of combination of veteran and young guys. Definitely a clear effort to get on base more, to produce more offensively. I think O'Neal Cruz breaks out this year. I expect to see more from him, more from Ke'Bryan Hayes, Jack Sawinski. Carlos Santana will have a good year. So, they'll take a huge step, like you said, but I have them third. And I like the pitching. I think those young pitchers are going to take a huge step. But as a whole, they're still rebuilding. But they're in that upward swing of rebuilding. They're close, but they're not there yet. The bullpen's just not there yet. That's going to hold them back. Second, I have the Cubs. You disagree with me on the Cubs? I don't think the Cubs are a good team, but I think they're good in the NL Central, which is a second-place team in the NL Central. The offense is kind of a mixed mash of guys. It's very patchy. Some guys will hit, some guys will miss. When you do, that's kind of style. It's kind of a Red Sox style of offense this year. Pitching staff, you said it. I like the pitching staff. Steele, I think is really good. Wesneski, Tyone, Stroman, Smiley. That's solid. It's very solid. In the NL Central, that's good enough for second place. This team could be a division winner if the bullpen was at all solid, but it's just not. It's not good enough. It's going to hold them back. And I don't know how much they're going to get offensively, even though I do believe in them enough. But it's a second-place team. For me, it's a clear winner of the Central, clear and obvious winner. It has to be the Cardinals. There's no other choice than the Cardinals. Offensively, you mentioned it. We mentioned it before. This team, top to bottom, is elite. You were mentioning their Jordan Walker. When he comes up, that's another huge piece to add to this already stacked lineup. And then, obviously, improved the catching position with Contreras. Offensively, improved it. Pitching staff, that's the concern. The question for me is not if the Cardinals will win the Central. I think they will. The question is how far can they make it in the playoffs? Is this a World Series team? And I won't answer that yet because I don't want to spoil anything, but if they're going to be a World Series team, the pitching has to be better. I don't love the starting rotation. I think it's league average to slightly below league average, which if you're going to be a playoff team, if you're going to be an elite team, you can't really have that. The bullpen, there's question marks there. But they have a lot of ability, bullpen-wise, a lot of pure ability, hard throwers, Helsley. So it's still good enough. This NL Central is really weak, and this Cardinals team is by far the best team in the Central. So I have the Cardinals winning the NL Central.
All right. We agree for the most part, besides the Cubs, but Yeah, like this division isn't that good. It's one of the worst in baseball. Just the Central divisions in general are just always bad. I feel like the AL Central is the only division that's worse than the NL Central.
Yeah, for sure. The divisions definitely mirror each other. AL Central is worse, but the NL Central is close. I mean, it's not a good division either. And the East and West, East in particular, is just so strong.
It's always good. It's always good.
East is always good. Always gonna have powerhouse teams there. The thing with the Central just doesn't have very big market teams, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of why.
All right. Sam, would you like to talk about what we're gonna be discussing next week?
So next week we're gonna go over the NL West. It's gonna be our final division as we go through all the divisions. Separate from that, so we'll go through NL West, but separate from that, we're gonna do some WBC, some World Baseball Classic stuff. And we're always thinking, we're brainstorming. We always got more stuff planned. Always trying to satisfy our viewers, our 10 fans. We love our fans. Sorry, our 10,000 fans. And so yeah, we got a lot of stuff planning, a lot of stuff in the works. We're gonna keep humming. It's gonna be terrific. So a lot of stuff to build on.
Are we gonna get any special guests?
I don't have one yet, but I can assure you that I will try to get a special guest for next week.
I think we can.
I think we can always get a guest. We have so many
Yeah.
people that have to be on the show, so
Yeah.
we'll get a guest ready for next week for sure.
All right. So that's gonna do it for episode 8. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Keep humming, baby.
Keep humming, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.